Hot Take Hockey Podcast with your hosts, Lucas and John Viveiros.
Hey everyone, we're back for the Hot Take Hockey Podcast, episode 13, here with Lucas, myself, John. Crazy stuff in hockey. I think we're going to talk about the Leafs a bit, and we were freaking out and then back to normal. But again, every year, and then they're out the first round. So we'll go over different fan reactions, and then we'll talk about some trade stuff. We'll talk about the Blues are struggling, Bruins buzzing, but then now in like storylines right now. So a bunch of stuff to go over. But Lucas, man, just quickly, I know you had a fun weekend. How was your weekend and how you been?
Yeah, sweet weekend, John. I'm so hyped for episode 13. Here we go. But yeah, my weekend was good. I went down to Penn State, watched the Penn State Lions play. My cousin Alyssa, she's actually on the women's team there. So awesome seeing that hockey and just being there. First time I was ever at Penn State. The whole town is literally called State College. And so it's literally a town of just like surrounded of Penn State students, and just the whole vibes about it. You feel like you're back in school, except the US takes it up another gear than we do.
Yeah, I was going to say you got to party it up a bit.
Oh yeah. I mean, for the most part, it was just me, my brother, my cousin Mario, and my uncle Bo. You know, we just had good times, chatted about life, had a couple of bevies, and it was a good weekend. But we went there on Saturday afternoon, watched my cousin play, and then Saturday evening we saw the Pens and Kraken. Good hockey game. Penguins still.
Oh, I saw Kasperi Kapanen miss the wide open net.
Yeah. I think the highlight of that game, though, man, like going into it, like when you're a fan, you're just like, I just want to see Crosby do something.
Yeah, honestly.
Right? And he did. He was. Oh my gosh, he's so good. Like,
yeah, even when he doesn't have the big nights, like in small moments for Sid, like you can just see the level.
Man, he did this one play like behind the net. Like I know, like we're bringing on a guest who's actually another NHL 23 content guy, so we'll bring him on and chat it up. Don't want to tee it off yet, but they do this move. Crosby did this move behind the net where he banks it off the back of the net and like spins over, and I forget what defenseman it was, but he just was out to lunch. Like Crosby was way past him, and then on Crosby's goal, like the one-timer, even his pass and his tip pass in the neutral zone, just crazy stuff, John. Like nuts.
Yeah. Man, that's the thing that's so frustrating with Pittsburgh is like fans are seeing certain things like a Kapanen being a write-off, or like Dumoulin and like him slowing down, like certain things with the Pens. And it's like, you just see Sid every night. Like there's no way this team should be struggling to make the playoffs in any capacity or struggle to even get out of the first round. Really. No. So especially we could say that as Leaf fans, like seeing certain talent on teams, like there should be no way there's a struggle to make it into the playoffs. So, but yeah, man, that's sick. I know Nick was saying it was pretty good. We're going to have to do a road trip all together soon.
Oh, we got it. We're planning that.
Yeah, we're low key. We'll see. But yeah.
How was your weekend, John?
Yeah, it was good. So the last couple of weekends were good. I was this past weekend filled up with the Sudbury Wolves, so hosting for them, and it was actually I know I told you, so big fanboy moment, because it was like we always do like a ceremony or something beforehand, obviously, and then intermission stuff. So Joe Bowen, who used to call the Wolves, and obviously legend now, so it was really cool to meet him and chat with him, so that was cool. Big fanboy moment. I was like turning around, hi, I'm Joe, and I was just like, whoa. So big shout out to his son David Bowen now, who's doing play-by-play for the Wolves as well. So I mean, hey, I hope to get those legends on at some point, but then the previous weekend in Detroit, so I'm hoping to do more road trips, like seeing the Red Wings play. I saw the Red Wings Wild play, so back-to-back weekends, a lot of hockey. And I think that's kind of where I've struggled to stream lately, is just kind of mixing in the schedule, because like working full-time and then doing a lot of different stuff on board. So, but Lucas, man, a lot of stuff happening in the league. And I mean, I think we just have to quickly go over the Leafs stuff. I mean, we could talk about the Leafs here and there on the episode, but man, like, what's your take on it? Because I feel like I see the side of like some fans are like, this is predictable, this is what they do every year, then they look good again. But it's like, isn't like these are kind of the problems that we see in this team in the playoffs, like either starting a series off slow. Like I just feel like some of these characteristics they show, sure, they get good again, they get great again, they're looking nice, but this is like, I don't know, these are some bad signs from this team, and we see it every year, and then they lose the first round.
I think you called it too. You were like, watch, the Leafs are going to rally off like 4 or 5 games, like, and they've won 2 games this weekend against great opponents in Boston and Carolina. I'll be completely honest, like I was obviously, out on Saturday, so I didn't get to watch too much of the Leafs Bruins. I saw the last 5 minutes, which was bananas in its own land, because I was trying to figure out why Shalgren in net, right? I had no idea yet that Samsonov got hurt.
What a weird situation there.
Yeah. So it's weird. Just such an inconsistent, bizarre team to understand that they can win these games. And one thing that you can just look at by looking at the box score is they still didn't score many goals. I mean, they clearly held it down on defense somehow. I'd rather look at, ask you more about the specifics of the game defensively. Like, how did they look defensively?
Well, man, I'll say this. I think a lot of people were giving Sheldon Keefe a lot of credit. I would give him some credit. I think that was the big part of that game. I think matchup game and just realizing how the Hurricanes play. I think like the Leafs were never going to score a lot of goals against Carolina. I didn't expect them off a back-to-back against the Hurricanes in Carolina. I thought that would be a lower scoring game if they were to win. Obviously with Shalgren and net, I had like my uncertainties on it, but against Boston, I think the biggest thing was like, even towards the end, like you could tell that like this team was in shutdown mode and they did it well. So I think Hull actually I think it's always the thing that's said is like, if you don't notice a guy, it's the best thing ever. Right. And that goes with Justin Hull. And I would say against the Bruins, that was probably the case. But more so I'd say Carolina, they just looked a lot more settled. I thought Riley Liljegren, like for Liljegren just returning, I think there was a couple giveaways from him, but I mean, I know you got to watch the Carolina game, right?
Yeah. I saw most of it.
So yeah, even like Carolina, I thought Riley Liljegren, I think Riley even looked more engaged at times, but again, I'm not really happy with Riley's play right now, if I'm being honest. But the guy that just stands out, and it's so like we're hearing it from everyone right now, but I watch every game now, and just seeing John Tavares like this is like, I never thought he was going back to this like form. I've always been awesome. A John Tavares guy. I've always been I always defend this guy, but like, I didn't think I would see this again, to be honest. I'm just being honest. He is electric right now.
And we don't know when this, might wear off a little bit. Like he's playing unbelievable, and we love to see it. But like, we can't really count on this for 82 games. But that's obviously it's such a great sign to see him playing like this. I didn't really have too much. To say
I rambled on a bit there, but
yeah. No, but at least they got 4 points out of 4 on a weekend of a back-to-back versus 2 contending teams right now. I mean, that's huge, and we'll see where it takes them this week. I think they got somebody tomorrow night. Vegas? I think it's Vegas.
Yeah, it's Vegas and Pittsburgh this week.
Yeah, so we'll see how
isn't
those
that crazy? They played Pittsburgh 3 times this month.
That's nuts.
Twice in Pittsburgh.
I know. And of course I wasn't there that weekend. Damn.
Yeah. So, man, I'm just thinking, so I rambled on, but to kind of move towards like that Tavares conversation is like, when you have your captain playing so motivated like this, like at some point it's got to push back. And I think that's where you're seeing from some of the guys. Obviously we want more from Matthews. I think everyone wants more. I think the funny part is being like a Leaf fan is like, I think we see that stretch of struggle and we kind of want them to continue showing that struggle to like prove the point and just dump off someone. But now it's like back to the reality of them being a good team. It's like, you're not going to fire Sheldon Keefe now after 3 wins like that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's fast. It's crazy how fast things change really in a week. And Matthews getting those 2 goals on Saturday is also huge because, obviously slow start for him. And if he can just pot a couple more games where he gets 2 here, or he starts scoring at his pace where he gets 1 a game for like a stretch here, like all of a sudden he's back in the conversation of like, top of the league in goals. And he can do that real quick in a couple weeks. So keep an eye on him for sure, as always. And Sheldon Keefe looks like he's safe right now.
Yeah, safe for now. And I don't think anyone would have expected Tavares to be significantly higher on goals than Matthews right now. So, and I mean, you're seeing it around the league, man. Like I do want to touch on some like underrated guys that we should look out for maybe trades or at some point. But I was like laughing with my brother. It was like, I can't believe we're like a couple weeks into the season and Nick Ritchie has more goals than Matthews and Marner combined. Like, what a slap in the face. But yeah, man. I mean, Leafs, crazy topics, but I guess we should probably touch on, again, I made the video and I feel like it's just a big storyline, but what a disaster with the Boston Bruins right now. Like, especially on the ice, the season you were having, and to like make a decision to sign Mitchell Miller. What was kind of your initial reaction? Like, obviously now seeing like everything's happening right now. Bettman's making statements like, now the NHLPA might come forward. Like, what is your take on all this?
Yeah, I mean, so there's, just to give some context too about where I'm, like my work situation, there's quite a few guys I know at our office that handle trades, free agent signings, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And so the teams need to call in and obviously report the business they're about to do before it goes live.
Yeah.
And it's been made very clear here on the Mitchell Miller situation that the NHL was never aware that the Bruins signed him until after they had announced they signed him. So from a league perspective, like that's not the way that the teams are supposed to do business, and it doesn't look good on the NHL. But the NHL was never given the heads up that this was happening until after it went live. Similar to different situation, but similar to when Dadonov got traded to the Ducks by Vegas. The NHL had no idea of that until after it was published. So first off, from a business perspective, that's awful. But for the Bruins to sign this guy after, the whole history of what has happened, we don't need to get into all the specifics, but all the history and Arizona releasing him after they drafted him. And Cam Neely seeming like he didn't know all of the specifics.
It seems like he was barely in the process.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really bad on the Bruins organization. And like you said, John, like for a team that started off this hot, they were 10-1 until Saturday, now 10-2. It just adds unnecessary negativity to a team that was, on a hot run to start the year. And the leadership as well on the team is not happy at all. You go through Bergeron, Marchand, Foligno, all these guys. It's caused a stir, and it just doesn't look good from the outside. And I bet it's not great on the inside.
Oh man, that clip from Bergeron talking with Elliot Friedman, like, I mean, some players do their best to try to fake things through interviews, but like you can see it so clearly. And it's just like, to me, I don't know if I'm like, how can you be such an idiot to go through like months of a process and not even reach out to the victim's family? Like, that should be the first thing you're doing. Like, I don't understand how they said they went through this big time process and that wasn't one of the first things, if not the first thing you do. And then I just think the agent coming out with like initiatives he's taken part in that he didn't, like, there's so many things coming out that it's like, how is this possible? This is the National Hockey League. What is going on here? Right. Yeah. And the Boston Bruins doing that, I just, that's why, what can Gary Bettman say? Like, as much as Gary Bettman gets criticized, it's like, that's a shock to the NHL when they thought, I'm sure a lot of people thought that this was way behind us, right?
Yeah, I think the Bruins tried to, this is pure speculation, but I think the Bruins tried to sign a guy who obviously from his skills and statistics on the ice looks like a contributor in hockey. And they tried to sign him and sort of try to call the NHL's bluff and see if the NHL was just going to let it slide after they were aware of it. And the NHL put a stop to it right then and there, which is what should be done. But as far as the whole situation in total, it's sad, right? I mean, the victim not getting apologized to correctly, this has done terrible things to the family of the victim. Everyone really loses here, and it's a shame to see. And hopefully in the future, something good can come out of this. I don't know where the story will lead us in 6 months, a year, 2 years, but hoping Mitchell Miller could take steps to, obviously look, further educate himself and what he's done. And I don't like talking about stuff like this because, everyone's human. We all make mistakes, but I think that something like this there needs to be a variety of steps that are taken to make the best for all parties involved. Right.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem here. I think when we're talking about like steps and process, like what was the rush to sign this guy then? Mm-hmm. Like if you want to have the opinion of second chances, and I believe in second chances. Like, of course, I think we're all human. Everyone deserves second chances. But when it's something that the way the victim is telling it, that it was happening for years, like not just a couple of one-time mistakes, like years. So my thing is, if you were going to go through that process, especially for a team that had such a good start, why would you try to distract people from a great start to this situation that was so unnecessary? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's so unprofessional. So like terrible. For a team that original six team, like the whole 9 yards. And then, as you said, like Cam Neely, it doesn't even seem like he knows what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, Don Sweeney and Cam Neely just aren't on the same page. No. Like it really shows the messiness up there. And just like such unwanted attention.
It's crazy too, because fans have already been fed up with so many of Don Sweeney's moves, like hockey moves. This is a hockey move, but no, this is much bigger than just like the hockey signing. Like this was a statement that was not needed to be made, like at all.
This is a public relations disaster for the Bruins right now. Yeah.
Like, so at the end of the day, the fact that you're a GM that's been criticized enough and your team's having a great season And I don't know what would go through your mind to try to make a decision like this in freaking season. Awful. I don't know, man. I'm nowhere near a Bruins fan, but if I'm a Bruins fan right now, I am so like pissed off and just, I don't know. I don't even know what else to say on that, but
gonna have to make a hard pivot. Let's talk about those suspensions on the weekend. Hard pivot, but Josh Anderson and Matthew Tkachuk getting suspended.
Yeah.
What do you think of those, Johnny? Both of them. You think they're fair? What's your thoughts?
Well, I'll say this. The hit on Pietrangelo was definitely like, I would say, careless. Yeah, like by Anderson, careless. I did kind of have a good laugh when like Pietrangelo turned around, like he was just so mad, and the two other Vegas guys jumped in. It was like, geez, poor guy. But Tkachuk's been such a shit disturber like normal. And I actually was watching that Ducks Panthers game, and I never thought I'd be on, or not Ducks Panthers, sorry, Kings Panthers. Yeah, Kings Panthers. I never thought I would be on Matthew Tkachuk's side to the point where sometimes, man, like a shit disturber around the net, like he was probably a good, I don't know if you saw, but he was probably a good like inch or a couple inches outside of that crease, his back of his skates, and he got dinged for goalie interference there. I get the contact, but that's not quick space. That's out of his crease, and I think that should have been a goal. They called it back for goalie interference. I never thought I'd defend Matthew Tkachuk, but that was one of a few that we've seen lately with goaltender interference go a weird way. But yeah, I mean, the Josh Anderson one, I think that was a reckless hit. I saw a lot of Habs fans on TikTok though. Oh, that was clean. I swear on my life, that was clean.
Yeah.
That's classic. But what do you think on them?
Yeah, I thought the Anderson one jumped a little more out at me. Like, what a hit, but obviously not legal. It's always just, for me as a hockey fan, I find it really interesting when like a really established, well-respected veteran player gets hit like that. Like it's similar to like, it's like when Marleau got hit by DeBrusque, or when you see Pacioretty got hit by Chara. I know it was a bit different times, but like when you see these really good players get hit like that, it just jumps off the page a little more. So seeing Pietrangelo get rocked like that, I knew like as a competitor, like he's just going to jump up and attack him, which he did. But yeah, I mean, I think they were both fair suspensions for what those plays were. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fans, I don't know if you saw it, Zizekas, I'm trying to remember who he ran over. Was it the Hawks goalie? Or it was Stalock.
Stalock, yeah.
A lot of people wanted Zizekas to get suspended because he ran over Stalock. I think he got the game misconduct 5 minutes and he got fined. But that was another one that happened, I think, last week. So, there's been a lot to do with goaltenders and interference and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I was going to say the Blues and Penguins and Caps, like a few teams just ripping there. Like we're moving on from the Leafs and like a few teams struggling. So you just saw Pittsburgh in person, and I know you do follow along with the Blues games quite a bit. So on those two teams, we could talk to Caps as well. Like Caps just lost to the Coyotes. What are we thinking on these teams, man? Just the Blues are below Arizona in the standings right now.
Yeah, the Blues, important to note, they've only played 9 games. I don't know the standings in front of me right now, but a lot of the teams in front of them have played 12, 13, something like that games. So they have quite a few games at hand on these teams. But obviously they started off 3-0 and they've lost ever since. Yeah. They're playing the Bruins, as of this recording, they're playing the Bruins tonight. So we'll see how that one goes. The Bruins are wearing those Pooh Bear jerseys. And after all this bad PR, I'm sure they're pretty fired up to play. So that'll be an interesting one. And obviously Bennington playing at the TD Garden where they won the cup. The Blues right now, I feel like a lot of their veteran players just aren't coming through for them. Yeah. And then those two guys they signed to the big deals, Kyrou and Thomas, also have had very slow starts. I don't think Kyrou has an assist right now. I think he's got 1 goal too. And Thomas is very assist heavy. So he's not going to make it too big of an impact on goals, but the Blues aren't scoring. The offense doesn't look good. Obviously, Binnington ain't being that goalie from the first 3 games, so they're in a bit of shambles right now. I still believe this team is capable of bouncing back, but maybe I was a little higher on them than I should have been at the start of the year. But I still think they're a playoff team when it's all said and done. They just got to figure it out. I mean,
they should be.
Yeah, that's what I think.
They really should be. I think it's also just more of a tough look that, like, as you alluded to, it's like you just signed Thomas and Kyrou to those contracts. Yeah. And you're seeing like the most inconsistent Kyrou right now. Or to me, the way I've watched a couple Blues games, uninterested. He looks uninterested in my opinion. And like, Thomas, you're hoping for that two-way game and the assists, as you said. So I don't know. It's
O'Reilly too, right? O'Reilly's been non-existent.
He has a couple points, he's been non-existent.
Yeah, like my buddy on fantasy is talking about dropping him because he's doing nothing for him. And
so you know what? That's an interesting storyline. I mean, as we're recording, that game will happen in a couple hours, so we won't get our thoughts on the game itself, but everything with the Blues and obviously the Bruins. I did want to just make the point because we forgot to mention at the end is that the Bruins they've announced that they're trying to release Mitchell Miller. There's a bunch of stuff around the NHL and NHLPA. So I did want to just add that into the pod and make it clear that they're intending to release him after all these stuff over the last few days. But yeah, what a game for storylines, Blues and Bruins, and Stanley Cup rematch from 2019. So
the Penguins, just quick on them. Like from what I saw, I haven't been watching too many of their games this year. Obviously I was at the game on Saturday, but I haven't been watching too closely on them. But from seeing that game Saturday, Malkin looks a little bit like quite an older version of himself, and doesn't look the same. And then you have a lot of guys in the bottom six that I think aren't making a great impact. Crosby still looks phenomenal. Gensel looks good, but the Penguins as a whole, is this it? Like, is this going to be their final year? And they can't go out like this, man. Like with all these big guys, like I don't know, man. Are they going to blow something up there? Like with Brian Burke there, I'm always curious what is going on behind the scenes, right?
Well, I want to connect conversations of what we're about to talk about, and then another team that is struggling with their goaltending, and that's Edmonton. But Pittsburgh and Edmonton, I feel like I've been dying on this hill saying like there's going to be one more run for Sid. McDavid's going to beat him in the final, and Sid's going to pass the baton to Crosby's going to pass it to McDavid. And I'm just I want that to happen so badly, but I'm watching Edmonton and Jack Campbell. We could talk about this in a sec or after our chat with, we'll intro No Sleeves Gaming. It will be on. So big shout out, but so we might talk about it after. But with the Penguins, man, I want that run so bad. I want that one more run for Sid so bad. And it's like, what is happening? It's you want Jarry to be that guy, and there's certain guys like depth pieces like Kapanen struggling, and it looks so bad with Pittsburgh right now. I do hope that it's one of those situations where they change things up in the lineup. Like I've loved what I see with Raquel and Crosby when they're together, and obviously Gensel and Crosby, we know that they can heat it up. So it's just getting together, man, getting in the playoffs, and hopefully they can make the playoff magic. But it's just Pittsburgh and Washington struggling the same year. It's not something we've seen in our lifetime, or at least in the last 10 years.
And their power play looked really, really poor on Saturday. I know they're struggling with that right now, but when you have the personnel that they have, that really shouldn't be happening. And Seattle looks like a team right now. Like I think they're playing they're punching a bit above their weight right now, but
for sure
they look like every game they're going into, they know that they're not going to beat anybody too much on skill, but if they just keep it close, they can grind out points. And
that's like the Flyers right now, but they're doing even better with it.
And you got to respect that, because it's knowing as the team you're on that we might not have the deal breakers and the game breakers these other teams have, but if we just period by period keep it close, we can get a point or sometimes two. That makes all the difference in the end.
For sure. I 100% agree. Because even like the Islanders playoff runs, like they always had that mentality after Tavares left. It was like, you play this kind of team style and matchup game. Yeah. So the Flyers, John Tortorella just talked about it. Like you just saw them outwork the Sens to a dub the other night. Those kind of teams, man, it's good to see. I like that Seattle's grinding out some wins like that. Yeah. The only thing I don't like is they're wasting Shane Wright right now. That's a different conversation, but not liking that they're wasting Shane Wright would just see, like, I would be down to see them send him back.
Yeah, me too.
There's other guys staying though. We'll see the Slafkovsky situation, but Dylan Gunther staying with Arizona. So we can rip through more conversations. We're going to intro No Sleeves Gaming. I do want to discuss when we come back from his chat, some guys in the trade conversations. We'll discuss some milestones in around. So we'll talk about the Crosby conversation, but we'll also talk about Tavares, who's closing in on 400 goals. We'll also talk about Huberdeau and Lindholm struggling. Maybe the Canadian teams. We'll touch on the Jack Campbell struggles for sure towards the end. But let's intro No Sleeves Gaming. What a legend. Let's bring him on.
And let's welcome to the Hot Take Hockey Podcast, Cam. How you doing, Cam? It's No Sleeves Gaming right here.
I'm doing good, fellas. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk some hockey, talk about the video game a little bit. It'll be good, man. How are you guys been?
Good, buddy. Good. Just figured we'd bring you on, talk some Sharks, talk some NHL 23, and get your takes on some stuff. So as far as NHL 23 goes, I actually got the game on launch as well. Been playing some Hut, been playing some eShow with my buddies. What's jumping out at you the most, I guess, from the hut side of the world? We'll start there because I know you're big on the hut side.
Yeah, Hockey Ultimate Team is pretty much like where I spend or all my content comes from. I cover I host a lot of the esports stuff that goes on, and that includes sixes. But for the most part, it's all Hockey Ultimate Team. It's been a pretty rough year. I know that I'm a game changer, so I've had the pleasure to work on, test out the alpha and things like that, and then get to see the developer side of things a little bit. And I knew that this year, once they started implementing cross console or crossplay, which will be implemented hopefully in the next couple of weeks. It's supposed to come out in November. So that would require a lot of the resources. And that's definitely how it's played out. The game has felt, I've said this before, on Twitch and on Twitter, that it feels like a game that was supposed to be released in January and they had to release in October. So they've been battling it a little bit. There's a lot of bugs, but it's our only hockey game, so there's not much else we could do. We gotta play it. It's all we've got in terms of hockey, but it's still fun. I mean, I still enjoy Hockey Ultimate Team. The content has been really fun. The cards they've released, things like that, have been really good. But I'll be honest with you, I'm really excited about 24. It sounds way too early to say that, but I think NHL 24 will be one of, if not the best game we've ever gotten, just because of the freedom that crossplay will allow them to do. They'll be able to put new modes in because the player base won't be sectioned off. One of the major issues is that hockey is a very popular sport, but it's like the fourth most popular pro sport in North America, so that there's nothing the video game can do about that. That's just how it is, right? So you're already starting at a lower player threshold. Now with crossplay, it won't matter if they're on Xbox or PlayStation. It's going to allow them to make multiple modes and be able to have a player base that will support it. So NHL 94 and NHL 14 are kind of the goats, and so why not another 4? So NHL 24 I think is going to be the best one.
I was going to ask, do you have a Niagara Ice Dogs hat on?
I do. I'm a season ticket holder. I love my dogs. That's Landon Cato jersey. He's the captain of the team this year.
Hey, there you go. I host for the Wolves, so
nice.
Just watched the Ice Dogs play the other night. I was gonna say, there you go.
That was a decent game for us.
Yeah,
actually, the comeback was pretty impressive too. So yeah, it wasn't bad for you guys either.
Yeah, I think the Wolves fired off like 54 shots that last game.
Flores was, I think, the first star of the OHL that night. That was pretty wild.
No, it was funny because when the comeback was coming on, the fans were chanting Flores, kind of getting in his head for a little Nashville crowd. It was funny, but didn't work out. But yeah, man, no, that's pretty cool. So I was just gonna ask, did you always stream mostly hockey, or have you streamed other stuff? And for myself, I've kind of gone through the streaming and different elements, streaming more at sometimes. But do you feel like your streaming experience has changed over the last few years as well?
Man, I remember I started streaming because I watched these guys play a game called Destiny. And when Destiny 1 first got released, it was like one of the biggest game releases ever. And, it changed a lot of people's lives in terms of creators and whatnot on YouTube and Twitch. It's definitely faded away now a little bit, but I remember I started making content for Destiny being I can be a full-time streamer. And then I realized I did enough research that you got to grow on YouTube to grow on Twitch, which kind of sounds counterproductive. There's a lot of people out there that'll stream 12 hours a day to 5 viewers. And that's the thing I hate seeing the most, because there's way better time, way better methods to use your time to grow on Twitch. And YouTube is where it was. And I've been playing NHL since I was a kid, and I'm in my 30s now. I started my channel in 2017, I think on January 1st in 2017. And I just made tip videos because I liked the strategy of the game, and I was pretty good at the game online. And it went really well, and I've just kept going enough to the point where I remained consistent the whole time. And now I pretty much just play NHL in the off season, the summer months. I play a lot of MLB, dabble in a little bit of Madden for the month prior to NHL, but for the most part, it's I'd say about 75% NHL that I'm playing all year round.
There you go. Love it.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually matched up with you a handful of weeks ago, and
how bad you beat me?
Yeah, you beat me 1-0. It was a grindy game, but I could not get one on you. It was a tight game, and I forget who it was. I want to say it was it Couture or Goudreau? It was someone got a goal, and it was in the third period. I was pissed.
I'm a big Goudreau guy this year. His card that came out of the launch was really good. Yeah.
Okay, I think it was Goudreau then. But
that's funny.
Yeah, I just find this year personally, just with the game, it just seems very tough to score, tougher than other years for me. I mean, I've been playing since probably 05, 06, and I always thought I was a pretty good online player. And then this year it's just been a battle to score.
This year is good or bad. Like, it's funny because like everyone argues if gameplay is good or not, and it's so subjective. Like, so I've kind of like gone away from being like, this is the best gameplay and this is how to improve it, because it's no matter what, if I enjoy it, 5 other people might not, right?
Yeah.
It's just like something I've come to realize as a creator. So I personally don't mind the gameplay. I think the thing about it is that it's very different. So there's a new gameplay developer kind of leading the charge this year, and the backdoor one-timers don't work. Like, one-timer goals are just, they do not work. And that's kind of like the bread and butter, which, to be honest, that's the bread and butter in the real NHL. But in the video game, it's been 15 years of that. So it is different. There's gonna be a lot of people that struggle. I think this is gonna be one of the games that you have to adjust the most. Instead of shooting like short side above the glove, you shoot far side, and you don't go for one-timers. You go for like wraparounds and things like that. So it's very different. Like, I'll take change. I think it just freshens it up a little bit. Some of the one-timer stuff is kind of ridiculous though.
Yeah, some of the saves that get made, but I love watching. My favorite videos that you make are the free to play ones, because that's me, man. Like, I'm not out here trying to rack up credit card debt. Like, I'm trying to play free, grind my team. So I love those videos, and I wanted to give you a big shout out for those ones. But
appreciate that.
Transitioning a little to the Sharks and that couture jersey right there. Let's talk about them. I think they've been a lot better than maybe people had thought to start the year here. And Erik Karlsson has been a godsend compared to expectations coming into the year. What's your outlook on San Jose right now and Erik Karlsson specifically?
I mean, Karlsson is now worth his contract right now.
Yeah.
And I think I think back to like the 2019 team, the team that lost to St. Louis. That was easily, I've been a Sharks fan for 20 years now, and that was easily the best Sharks roster they've ever had. And in game 5, everyone just got injured. In game 6 against the Blues, they just iced half an AHL team, including Karlsson not playing. Like, it's been pretty rough since then. And then obviously with the Sharks, just when you're a dominant team for a decade and a half, like, it'll just catch up to you. There's no way to just keep it going, and all the bad contracts or the long contracts kind of have hammered them. And Karlsson specifically, I think the major issue is with Brent Burns. Brent Burns and Karlsson are both alphas in the sense that, like, they demand the puck. Like, if they don't have control of it a lot offensively, they struggle, because I don't think defensively they're all that elite anymore. I don't know if Burns was ever elite defensively. He's just just plays so
he's
hard.
Just a beast,
it's very weird. It's like an animal. Like, it's just like he's just so hard, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing. And Karlsson's very soft, but he has very good stick skill. So defensively, it is what it is. But with the puck, it never seemed like either of them could really get going. And I knew that once this year when Burns got traded, which I was bittersweet. I think that anytime that they can move out some of these contracts, like I've been a fan for, like I said, like 20 years. I'm ready for them to do a teardown. Ownership won't let them. So they are in the worst spot. I'm a big fan of Brian Burke, and he said either get good fast or get bad fast.
Yep.
They are in that horrible spot as a fan where they are in that 10th overall draft pick range. And unless you get really lucky, it's very difficult to get better quickly with that. And but with Karlsson specifically, he picked a heck of a season to have 100-point year, because they really struggled with all of the additions and the new coaching staff and all of that. And I knew on paper the team did not look good. I thought they'd play a little bit harder than they had, but they rattled off a lot of bad games in a row. I think they were 0-5 to start, or 1-5 to start the season, and I'm completely okay with that. The Karlsson thing, though, now he's always been hurt. Like, since he's been a Shark, I don't know if he's ever touched 70 games, and I'm waiting for that, to be honest with you. But I knew that once Burns was gone, Karlsson, it's now him. All the offense runs through him, and now you're seeing what that kind of looks like. And I think it's just good for hockey. I've forgotten what Karlsson at his top end was like, but you see, like, on social media, like, again, social media has not been all that exciting for Sharks fans, but Karlsson had that 4-point game with the hat trick. Like, Twitter just kind of blew up, and like, that felt good. Like, people want to see players that were elite at, or some among the best in the world ever, become and get back to there again. And I don't know if he can sustain it, but I mean, before Cale Makar, there was Karlsson. Like, that is how I think people forget just how good he was. And he was among, like, a top 2 player in the entire league at one point. And it's fun. It's honestly fun seeing him. And at the beginning of the year, as a Sharks fan, because they're keeping all the rookies in the AHL, which I actually agree with, even though I love Eklund and Bortolo, I can't wait for them to play. I don't think there's ever been a Sharks prospect pool that I've been this excited about. even like when Hurdle and Couture and Meyer were prospects. Them being in the AHL, watching them, it was like if Meyer wasn't scoring, it was like, ugh, because there was just no hope. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I kind of want to see them get Connor Bedard, to be honest with you.
That would be unreal.
Yeah, like if they could lose, I said this on stream, if they could lose 3-2 every game and go 0-82, I'd be okay with that, because at least the games are exciting. They're 1-goal games, and then they can get Connor Bedard. But obviously that's not going to happen. I think the roster is too talented for a top 3 pick, but man, if they could get the top 3 in this draft is really good with Michkov and Fantilli and then obviously Bedard at the top. I would love to see it, but Carlson's been really fun to watch. I don't know when it'll end. I have a feeling he'll get hurt, but it has been fun over the last little while.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think at the start of the year, everyone was like, well, a defenseman get 100 points. And like everyone was like, talk about Makar. So
yeah, it's Makar. The Norris Trophy is Makar's until he decides it doesn't want it to be.
So the fact that Erik Karlsson's on this pace right now is nuts.
Mm-hmm. He's at the 3rd most goals in the league behind McDavid. Like, it's wild.
But yeah, just so I think overall on that point, the Bedard is like the Ducks, Zegras, McTavish, they've been getting some guys in the show. And obviously the Kings have had so many younger guys come in. So it's about time for guys like, as you said, Eklund, Bordelot, Merkley, guys like that to step up into the NHL. But just overall at a league kind of perspective, what have you thought about the Pacific Division, Vegas? Just kind of overall, what you like, is it what you've expected or a lot of surprises?
So on my podcast, me and my co-host we're both kind of more aware of Vegas than a lot of people. He's a Blues fan, and he was actually the emergency backup goaltender for the Blues for the last like 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And he plays in the offseason. Like he skates with Pietrangelo and Kachuk in the offseason in St. Louis. And we're both like way more aware than what like social media seems to be about Vegas. Everyone thinks that they didn't make the playoffs and they're just done. As a Sharks fan, dude, like they are they are absolutely dominate. And so I actually just went to Vegas with my wife and my buddy was celebrating his 30th birthday. So we went there, and it was my first ever time going to a Golden Knights game. I can't stand the Golden Knights. They put on a show though. It is the best place to watch a hockey game. It is like full. I can't stand it. I hate it. I still hate the team. Don't like the logo. So we went to one on Saturday against the Ducks, and they shut them out 4-0. And it was great. Like the intro. Like, I now understand why Martin Jones would give up a goal in the first 5 minutes against Vegas every single game, because there's no way to sit through the intro that Vegas gets every home game and be like, my goodness, because the fans are ready to run through a wall. Like, it is wild. And so we went on Saturday, and my wife and me were staying an extra day, and I was like, there was a game on Sunday. I was like, we're going to another game. So I went and saw a second one against the Jets. Hellebuck was incredible. Eichel scored this amazing overtime game winner. Again, best place. If you haven't seen a game in Vegas and you are in the area, please go and see a hockey game there. It's just a great place to watch a hockey game. But I think that they will win the division. I think their goaltending, like as long as Thompson can hold up. Watching Aiden Hill gave me like PTSD. But I think that their team, when Mark Stone and Eichel and Petro are on your roster, like it is nuts. I think in the Pacific Division, the team that's kind of surprised me the most has been Vancouver being so bad. Yeah, because it's between the ears. Like their team, I don't know if I've overvalued them, but I just think their team is better than what they've been doing, because I think their roster is like pretty impressive. Like they have a good top 6. Their D-core is half decent. They have one of the best goaltenders in the world. And they were losing all these games to start the year, but it's like they had multi-goal leads. Like it wasn't like they were getting shelled like the Sharks were. So that one has been the most surprising in the Pacific Division. Just to me, I think Edmonton. I want to see. It's a lot like Mike Trout in the MLB, man. I want to see the Edmonton Oilers do well just for Connor McDavid. I think it's good for the sport. I think there's too many people that are casual hockey fans that don't know Connor McDavid or get to see him. And I think that it's the same thing in MLB with Mike Trout and Ohtani. And God, they get Jack Campbell, and I really thought Jack Campbell would be what they needed. I thought that last year, if they had Jack Campbell instead of Mike Smith, they might have gone 6 or 7 against Anaheim, against Colorado, because Mike Smith did all he could to lose in that first round against LA. Like Connor McDavid dragged them by himself. But he looks like I don't know what it is, man. I don't know. It's obviously harder to play in a Canadian market, but they just need a goaltender. They just need a Chris Osgood.
I mean, he just played with the Leafs.
Just a consistent goalie. That's all they need.
9-10. Yeah. We don't need 9-20. We don't you get 9-10 and let Connor McDavid cook And like that's all they need. And that's got to be frustrating. My goodness, because you have two of the 4 players in the world on your team. And when there's 32 teams, that makes it even harder to get. But yeah, like Calgary is going to be hard in the playoffs. They are, I think they got worse down the line, but this year I think they might be better than they were last year.
Yeah, they're playing well, and Huberdeau and Lindholm are not even playing like that well. They're still, I mean, Kadri's like crazy right now. I was gonna say it is a letdown that we didn't get to see that like game 6 or 7 series with McKinnon, McDavid, like Makar, all those guys. Like that's where it's like you think Campbell's coming in to maybe make that happen, but man, he's been a disaster. It's been so bad.
Colorado's been kind of like
meh. Yeah,
it's very hard, man. Like in a cap world, like they lost Kadri, was 90. I think he had 90 points last year. Like that's a tough L to lose, and Newhook does not look like he's the fix there.
And Natushkin's now hurt.
Yeah, their top 4 players are winners now. So they'll go through what Tampa did, where that'll at least get them into the playoffs and probably a few rounds. But I can't wait to see Vegas in the playoffs, and I do not want them to win. But it'll be good hockey. Like it will be very good hockey games.
Well, that was the biggest thing, right? Like Vegas, I feel like a lot of people, on social media it was weird. I think, Lucas, we talked about it. Like, I think we were confident in their defense and their forward group, like no questions, but it was just like, what Logan Thompson are we getting? So like, for me, I was like, okay, I could see Vegas in a wild card spot, but if the goaltending plays well, then, I mean, Logan Thompson, he's been so good.
Yeah, like he's been really, really impressive too. And if they get like a 915 save percentage from him, like they're gonna run away with the division. I think like I think that they're the real deal again. And it almost like I'm a big fan of like seeing history. So like I hate seeing repeat cup winners because I think it's boring. I want to see parity. But last year, I kind of wanted to see Tampa win 3 in a row for the sake that we'll never see that. Like the odds of winning 3 in the cap system in hockey, because hockey is the most luck driven sport of any of the major sports. Like, you just need bounces. Like a lot of that to win a cup, you need those games where, Pavelski gets that injury and there's that 4-goal power play. Like you have to have games like that in hockey. To see 3 would have been pretty incredible. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they perform in the playoffs, because it's been fun to watch them so far.
Yeah, and Vegas specifically too, like relating it to the history conversation when they had the finals with Washington. That's why I love that final, because it was like either OV wins or an expansion team wins in their first year. So that was a cool one to look back.
I love the rivalry too. Like it sucks that the Sharks and Knights rivalry, it's gone now because the Sharks are so bad and the Knights are still very good. But like Reeves and Kane are gone, so that just kind of sucks a lot of it out of there. And I feel like Vegas has really fumbled it since their first year was a masterclass. Like that, I don't know if they made any errors other than that. Was it not Tatar? They made no-shik trade. I think that was the only goof they made, and the rest of it was just they was incredible. And every year since, they've just like they have no loyalty to their players. Their jersey choices are getting worse and worse. Like you know what I mean? But I think that what I was going back to, sorry about the history part, with them not making the playoffs, it's kind of annoying. Like I you know what I mean? I would love to see them make the playoffs the first 10 years of their existence, because I don't think any other team is getting it. Seattle is what Vegas should have been, because general managers were like more aware. But I don't think we'll ever see that again.
No. And then connecting it to your Sharks too, like Aiden Hill, obviously, like what do you look, obviously he came from the Sharks. What do you look at when you see him? Do you see him as like a good backup, or potential to be a 1B, or like what do you think is his ceiling?
He's definitely a backup. I think that he was hurt, and it looks like he's so, I got to meet him in person. I did an event for the Sharks and I got to meet him, and he's massive, he's giant. Like, and I can't imagine being that big as a goaltender. Just, like that's so hard on the body. I think he's a good backup. Like, I think that the role he is in right now is really good. He's got a great defense and team in front of him. He doesn't need to make 40 saves a night, and that's a good role for him. If Logan Thompson goes down, I would actually be concerned about the Knights, because I don't think Aiden Hill would be able to kind of hold down the ship there.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because Logan Thompson, obviously, he's young goalie, like not very experienced. The track record's small, so it's like if he struggles at a certain point, is Aiden Hill going to have the skill to take over?
There would be an issue.
Yeah.
James Reimer would be a golden knight, I think, which is who I thought they would take.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sharks need to get rid of James Reimer. He is, for anyone that doesn't get to watch Sharks games, he is going to do more damage to the Connor Bedard thing than maybe Carlson. Like he's got almost a 920 save percentage.
Well, Cam, the Leafs need a goalie.
The Leafs need him. Send them our way.
I don't think like that's the okay. So the Leafs goaltender situation, it takes a special kind of human being to be able to handle it because goaltenders as a whole always a little bit more odd. Obviously, they've got to be because of the what they stand there and do.
Yeah.
But in Toronto, man, you see goaltenders come and go. James Reimer got far better after he left Toronto when he was in Florida, and Freddie Anderson just won the Jennings Trophy. Like there is a Toronto media and fans in Toronto living in Southern Ontario. They are the weirdest fan base because when they
kill goalies,
when they win a game on a Tuesday in December, they're ready to plan the cup. When they lose a preseason game, they're ready to run Nylander out of the like the team. So like you have to be able to be even keeled. I think you're seeing that with Marner too. Like Marner struggled a lot in the playoffs because he even said, I remember after the Montreal collapse, he had to delete social media. You can't say that. Like you can't have that be impactful in the Toronto market because Toronto lives for the Leafs. Like no disrespect to the Raptors or the Blue Jays. When they're good, everyone pays attention to them. No matter how bad the Leafs didn't make the playoffs like 12 years, and the focus is always on them. Goaltenders there, man. I like it would take Shesterkin, like a generational one, to be able to like hold down the ship because they're just a lot like Vegas, man. They just need 9-10, 9-15, and I mean, I don't know if they'll ever be able to close at a playoff round, but I think that again, that's I always say this about the Leafs that like I think that when a big game comes, the entire roster just kind of looks down the bench and be like, hey, you gonna go score that? You want me to? I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like you're feeling it. Like that's what it always seems like in the games because their team is so good. I feel like eventually, if they can win a round and they know what it feels like to win a round, I think that they'll go on a cup run. Like their team is so good. Like they have just great pieces.
They gotta
everywhere.
get that taste for sure.
Yeah, they need that win.
I was gonna ask you as we head to the finish here, are you have you always been a Sharks fan, and who was your favorite Shark player of all time, or who is it right now?
I was a Leafs fan as a kid. My old man is a diehard Leafs fan. I grew up in Niagara Falls, Ontario, so the Leafs were like always my team. I remember I was in grade 8. And I randomly, it was I think the Leafs were playing Philly in the playoffs. It was before the big lockout, the one that a lot of people remember, before Crosby and Ovechkin. And it was the playoff there. And I think Toronto was playing Philly. I can't remember that one. I don't. I remember I was watching hockey game prior, and I just left my TV on in my bedroom, and I left it on, and it kicked over to the Sharks versus the Avalanche. Now I'd never seen the Sharks, and I know the Avalanche because they were like Forsberg, Sakic. Yeah. Those are like your legends. Favorite players playing the video game when you were a kid, right? And I was watching for like 3 minutes, wasn't really paying that thing crazy, and then Jonathan Cheechoo scored a goal between his legs over David Abisher, and I was like, "What is this?" I was like, "Okay." I watched the rest of the game. The Sharks won, and I believe the very next game, Patrick Marleau had a hat trick, and I was like, "This is just exciting." Like I was like, "Okay, I'm all on board. This is just fun." The very next year was the lockout, which kind of sucked. But the year following was the first year I'd followed them from start to finish. So I think 2005. My very first game that I ever went to as a Sharks fan was in Buffalo, and it was Joe Thornton's first game as a Shark. They lost 10 in a row. Jeez. Joe Thornton got traded. I still remember watching TSN. Gord Miller came in. I think he interrupted a game mid-broadcast to announce this trade. And they won 5-0, and the rest was history there. But like my favorite, or like that first run where they lost to Calgary in the conference finals, like Marleau is he's the reason why my tag is No Sleeps 12. Like Marleau is him and Iginla are like my favorite players of all time. But back then, like Alan McCauley I liked because he was a Leaf. I really liked Vinny Danfus, but I only got to see that cup run of him. He retired right after, and again I knew him because he was with Montreal. I'm trying to think of like my early favorite big
Vesatoskala guy.
I know Nabokov. Nabokov. If it wasn't Marleau, Nabokov would be my favorite player. Like
there you go.
I can remember sitting in my room. I still am very biased, but the moments I think and all of that, his save in the playoffs against Dallas on Brad Richards is one of the best saves in the history of the NHL in terms of the play. It was double overtime in an elimination game. And I remember watching that game, and it was like the camera well was on the Brad Richards side. And I remember the pass was like a fake shot pass. And my heart sank. I was like, oh, it's over. Like, I remember, like, because it was this freeze frame of the wide open net. And Glenn Healy being like, this, I think he got that. And I was just still blown away by that. But Nabokov, Marlowe, obviously Thornton. I was a big Danny Heatley guy when he became a Shark too. Like, that was God, that team was fun.
That was awesome.
I've been a fan for too long now, because I'll be honest with you. Hurdle Hurdle is probably my favorite Shark right now, other than Couture. I think Couture doesn't get enough love. He's one of the best playoff performers of the last decade, and he's never won a cup, and no one knows that. The amount of points that he puts up and the way that he is. When he scored the first goal in that Vegas game in Game 7, he looked at the bench. He said, "That's one." Like, just like there's something about that kind of stuff. Eklund and Bordelot. I am way too I think that Bordelot has the chance to be like the second best Wolverine behind Powers and Power, even more than Beniers. But Beniers is going to get all the love and the opportunity first, and he probably will be better. But there's something about Bordelot when he has the puck in the NHL, and I hope he spends the whole year in the Barracuda, because this is the first year the Barracuda have ever been good. It's all their rookies. Like, they have a guy named Daniil Gushkin, who was an import for the Ice Dogs from Russia last year. I got to watch him. Ice Dogs were awful. One of the worst teams in the OHL. And he led the team by far. And every time he touched a puck was insane. And I couldn't believe it, because they had a Sharks draft pick. Like, it was so much fun to watch. He is electric too. So this is the first time that they have more than just that one prospect coming up. And so it's going to be fun future for the Sharks.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome to hear the outlook on the Sharks going forward. I personally hope they get Bedard, because I'd love to see him in California. And I think, as a kid, I was always fascinated by sharks, like the animal that I was kind of.
A lot of people.
That's how a lot of people get into the Sharks, like the hockey team, I swear. So I was drawn to that logo and stuff, and it would be awesome to see him there.
Let me ask you guys this. What team do you not want to see Bedard go to?
Montreal.
Coyotes.
Easy.
Okay. Oh, so I was going to say mine are Chicago. They deserve to be bad for a while. And Montreal would be a tough one too.
Montreal.
Oh man. I was at the draft doing the Gaming World Championships, and it was tied to the draft. Me and my dad went to the draft the next day. And man, that fan base is not like the Leafs, because they are proud, and it's never their fault if they lose a game. No matter what, they're still the best. Whereas the Leafs are the best, and there's no other team close when they're winning, but when they lose, they're the worst. Like, the fans are just like, God, this team is trash. Like, you know what I mean? Even though they put up 100 points in the season. So
yeah, not Coyotes either. I don't want to see them be playing in that 5,000 seat arena or less than that.
But Lucas, I was going to throw the hot take. I was going to say, would you be more scared of Matthews leaving to Zona if Bedard went to Arizona? Is that more of a stressor?
I don't know. I think that if the Leafs win a cup, like if they would have won a cup, then it would have been concerned. I can't see.
No.
The way Toronto is, I personally would love to see it. Just the chaos that it would be. But Arizona is just there. It's not like there's a history. Like, it's just a not good franchise that is just Bettman is just had to keep there. You know,
he might pull the Eric Lindros, and just say, I'm not going.
I don't know, boys. I'm down for the chaos. Bedard going to Arizona, I think it would be chaos.
I'm okay with them. League. I want it to be a team that has been bad and deserves to be better. Like, I'd much rather
Arizona. Yeah, I'd much rather Arizona than Chicago, Montreal, like by far.
Even Columbus. Columbus has had has a very good roster. I think they're struggling early on, you know, and like, so I've hated what's happened with the Devils. I can't stand that. The Devils have been bad for so long, but there's been worse teams, and they keep getting bailed out by winning the lottery.
Yeah.
And, you know, thank God this year they're just absolutely running away with it. And because I don't want them anywhere near the lottery this year. Phoenix, Arizona, like, they have never had lottery luck. Like, ever. Like, Buffalo got really wrecked with the McDavid draft, but at least they got Dahlin. Arizona, what happens with them is that they have high picks, but they can never hit on those high picks, and they're never the slam dunk generational Tavares, Stamkos, whatever. It's always like Barrett Hayton. You know, it's
Dylan Strome over Marner.
Exactly, Dylan Strome too. Like, it's those, they never hit on the high ones. So if they have a one where there's no decision, then I think that might actually be half decent. But they need an arena. They need to be a real team. The Ice Dogs, the Meridian Center is nicer than ASU. And that's brutal.
I think for me, like I'd always be like interested in the Nordique situation, but the Coyotes, I want to see it work out. Like, I don't know. It's frustrating to see the shit show. It's frustrating, but I think for sure, like the last couple of picks, I think might be where it's going. And I think if they got Bedard, man, like their top six in a couple of years are going to be nasty.
I was really sad. Like when I was doing the Game World Championship, Connor Geeky and Savoy hopped on the broadcast with us, and I got to meet them. And Geeky's hilarious. Like I was just like, man, this guy's gonna be a fan favorite, and he's massive. And I remember the Sharks had the 11th overall pick, and I'm at the draft, and I was like, this would be awesome. This would be so cool because I really wanted them to pick him. And I think the Ducks took Mitnikov, who looks amazing in the OHL. I got to see him beat up on my Sharks. Or on my Ice Dogs. But they end up trading their pick, and Arizona took Geeky, and I was like, no. So sad about it. But
well, one thing's for sure, I got to get to a game in Vegas after your recommendation.
100%.
I just saw a Pens game on the weekend. I just saw one in Pittsburgh there, but I've been to approaching a dozen now, different arenas, but Vegas I got to hit. And
what's your favorite one?
Jeez, Lucas, you're beating me.
Favorite so far?
I've been to like 20 now. Wow. I don't know how. I've been pretty blessed with opportunities. Every time I get an event, I end up going to
favorite. The arena, I really am wowed with Pittsburgh. Like I've been a couple times now, and I just love like the seating in it. Like even in the top
seating's
bowl.
Pretty cool. Yeah,
Little Caesars is nuts now too. That one's up there.
Little Caesars.
I gotta get
I've been to a couple of the Red Wings games. I'll say this: UBS is a castle. I got to go last year in like the 7th game that they had there. That thing is it's insanity. From the outside, it legitimately looks like a castle. Like it is it's a game that one that you want to go to. Everything's just so pristine.
I'm doing MSG next month for the first time, so I'm stoked for that one. I'm stoked for that one. But I think Tampa wows me every time too. Tampa and Florida, just because of the setting, it's just crazy that there's like palm trees and shit. And it's just is pretty weird. It boggles my mind that I'm walking to a hockey rink, and when I come out, I'm always like, I'm gonna be freezing, and then I'm sweating. Like it's just, I love that. But yeah, I'll definitely have to get out to Vegas. I got to do that one, and San
100%.
Jose too.
San Jose is not bad when they're doing good. It's so loud. Dude, they have no press box. I didn't know about this. When they built the arena, they just forgot about the press box. So when you're a healthy scratch, you're up in the rafters on the steel part. Because there's like this lower steel walkway that goes all along the top, like where the foghorn is, all of it. I got to go on a tour of that. Dude, it is so loud in there. They held the indoor decibel record for like in a inside enclosed arena for like 2 decades. And the game I went to was like the last game of the season last year. They had like 13,000 fans, and I was like, good Lord. And you can just tell, like, because the steel rafters are so low, it's nuts, but it's not the prettiest arena anymore. It's it is what it is though.
I remember as a kid seeing Ray Croft play for the Leafs in there, and it was it was a nightmare.
What a trade.
It was a nightmare. Listen, Cam, we're gonna wrap up, but how about we give you some time? Tell us where we can find all your content and where our listeners can follow you on.
Sure. I picked a horrible gimmick back in the day when I liked the gym a lot more than I do now. So you can find me at Sleeveless Gaming on YouTube if you enjoy the NHL franchise. I do tip videos and everything covering all of Hockey Ultimate Team. And then on stream, twitch.tv/NoSleeves12. That's where you can find me daily. I'm a full-time content creator, so my cat just will not stop me. So sorry if you guys can hear that. So twitch.tv/NoSleeves12. That's where you can find me on Twitch.
There you go.
Awesome. Check him out for everything NHL 23, man. I'm telling 100%. You, this guy's going to get you ahead in gameplay, all the little strategy tips, hut tips. This is your guy.
Thanks for pumping the tires.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Have a good one, guys.
Take care, buddy.
All right. So that was a good chat with Cam. Make sure you guys go hit him up with a follow and watch his stream. So huge legend, good chats. Lucas, so just quickly, we kind of alluded to some of the milestones. So Crosby, you just saw him in person. We could talk about Tavares as well, but just overall Crosby, milestones.
Crosby, 900 assists. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. 900 assists. The guy's over 500 goals. Just one of the greats. He can really push if he keeps playing a handful more years. He can get into that top 10. We all know he's one of the best players of our generation. Yeah. Watching the game, and it's great to see him still have these big moments in games like we saw on Saturday. I'll kick it back over to you. How about Tavares? What's that milestone that's coming up for him?
No, even on the Crosby conversation, it's like Crosby, Ovi, like Stammer, Tavares, like all these guys that went like in the second half of the 2000s in the draft, just become such iconic players. And Tavares, obviously, we're hoping for playoff success and maybe a cup one day, but 400 goals we'll see what happens as we're recording. He's one away, but the 400 goals, man, especially at this point, the way he's playing right now, like the fact that we could see a few more years of like, maybe this guy could get 500. We'll see.
Yeah. And 500, correct me if I'm wrong, keep me honest. 500 is kind of like that bar where it's like this guy is a superstar, and 600 is like this guy's a pure goal, like a great goal scorer.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think if Tavares can get 500, that's pretty impressive. I think he should. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking based on how he's playing right now, he could score at least 20 more goals this season, 25, maybe 30 more goals the way he's playing. But at least 25 this year. If he scores 30 the next couple, I mean, there you go.
Yep.
But yeah, so overall, are you confident, just to kind of wrap up the Leafs conversation, are you confident this team will be top 3 division and you're just like, let's see what happens in May kind of thing?
I'm confident they're a playoff team. I don't want to, I thought they were going to be top 3 in the division. I still think they can get there, but until the goaltending situation is figured out, which it may never be all season, it might just be jump ball all season. I'm nervous. And Matt Murray, with him, he seems to be on track coming back early.
Yeah.
Or is that the Leafs?
Week or two.
Yeah. Or is that the Leafs just pushing him because now Samsonov's out, so they don't really have any other option.
I know it was weird, right? Because last week they're like, "Oh, we're gonna take our time, big time with Murray," and now it's just swapped because of the Samsonov injury. Yeah, it's weird, man. I mean, for some reason, I'm like, I could react and panic, but it's just like, whatever. This team, I don't really care. As like, if they make the playoffs, let's just see what the outcome is there. But yeah, Eric Shalgren, and they just signed Petruzzelli to the NHL deal, so we'll see. But talk about goaltenders. I think if the Oilers didn't have Stuart Skinner, fans would be panicking even more. But like the Jack Campbell situation, as a former Leaf, 2 Leaf fans here, like, what's your thoughts on the Campbell situation? He just signed that contract.
I know, and I love Jack Campbell, and I had a sweet spot for him when he was in Toronto, but a part of me always, was a bit biased towards his actual play. I think that, this might be kind of what he is. I think he's a little below. He's playing under what he should be, but I think he might be a guy who's he can do the job for a few weeks and then he struggles for 3 weeks and it's just inconsistent. And that's not what the Oilers need. We talked about it with Cam. They just need a guy to be consistent and be an league average goaltender. And he's not doing that right now. Stuart Skinner's looked promising to start the year, other than that collapse to the Devils. But I think the Oilers right now, with their window trying to go for it, they just need to put the guy in the net who's going to win them games. It doesn't even matter about the contract right now. You could think about that later. They have McDavid and Draisaitl. Whichever goalie takes the reins, they got to play.
I mean, it's like, it's one of those things that, I have Campbell in fantasy and I picked up Skinner, so I have both of them. So I have that mess on my fantasy team in general. And it's just one of those things, like, I feel like Campbell, once the Oilers once they get going throughout the season, Skinner will have a bad game. Like, I feel like Campbell will get it back, but it's like, that's why I was saying I never wanted Campbell over 3.5 in Toronto, or like max 4. And like, obviously if it was 4 for Toronto, he's playing like this, not worth it one bit. So yeah, that situation is tough. I do want to just rip through the conversation in general. So Oilers, whatever, they'll be fine. I think Flames have been good, but Huberdeau, Lindholm have struggled. What has been kind of your thoughts on that? And then the Vancouver situation, like, we thought, a couple wins there, but then like the struggles again.
And the Daryl Sutter comment that went viral about Huberdeau taking that number 2. I think a lot of people are looking into that now and wondering if Sutter, it wasn't said tongue-in-cheek as a joke. It was like the way he communicated it was kind of bitter, and fans are wondering if there's a feud there between Sutter and frustration with Huberdeau's play thus far. I mean, man, you got to look at the guy. He's an elite player. He's played in one market his whole career. It's going to take him time to figure it out. I'm not worried about Huberdeau. I think he's going to figure it out, but you got to give the guy some grace and some time. And if Calgary can just play kind of average for a little bit until they really get going, they're going to be fine. They're going to be a good team. I'm not worried.
You also have to look at it as like, the Sutter situation, where it's like Huberdeau was in a system where it was just high flying offense, not much structure with the Panthers. And now you're going to a Sutter system that's a lot more structure. And it's a speedy kind of structure, but like a lot more structure. And then with Lindholm, I mean, I think I expected it in some way. I don't know if I expected it this much, but you were playing with Gaudreau and Tkachuk consistently for the last few years, and both those guys are gone. So like you have a whole new look with your role in the team. So I expected those guys to struggle. I think I expected the Flames to struggle at the start, as I said in previous pods, but Other guys have stepped up in big ways. Like watching Kadri, I know we keep saying, but it's like, oh my God, this guy's aged like fine wine. I've said it like a million times now. Like he just keeps getting better. I don't understand what I'm watching. Like Kadri's
it hurts. It hurts the heart, man. It really hurts the heart. I try not to watch, to be honest, because it just hurts the heart. And then how about the Canucks? What are your thoughts on the Canucks? I know, we've talked about them tons on the pod and their early season struggles before they even got a win. But what are your thoughts on them right now?
Yeah, it's still a mess. I think like even seeing like a guy like Höglander scratched and like how much hope they've had for him. And then just like even looking at like how they've kind of distributed the depth. I think like seeing Kuzmenko get a few goals, get in the hat trick, and like there's still production. Like Horvat's putting up production, Miller's putting up production, Pettersson is. Like these guys are, but it's just a matter of like the system, they're blowing leads, obviously. And then just in general, they look like, I don't know, they look less motivated than when we saw like Boudreau came in and it looked like they had a fire under their ass towards the end of the season. It's like the Boudreau effect is kind of waved off a bit. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like it's weird because they have so much skill. And we just talked with Cam about like Vegas and like Vegas's roster. And I feel like, yeah, Vancouver's defense is sus, but like Vancouver has the forward group, they have the roster, and they have Demko. Like they should be way better than this. There's no chance with a guy like Demko you should be this bad. There's just no chance. Yeah,
I mean, I'm waiting for them to turn that corner. But yeah, I mean, once you get to the 20, 25 game mark, it almost becomes, is this the team where, that's going to be there all year? And, we're 12 games in. So again, still early, but I think by next pod or the pod after, we can't be saying it's still early anymore. We'll be deeper in at the 20 game mark.
Yeah, I do want to just outline some guys that I'm thinking could get shipped sooner rather than later. Yep. So I just talked about Kapanen, and I think Pittsburgh's going to make a deal if these struggles continue. It's going to be some kind of middle six deal. They're not going to trade a top forward. They're not going to trade like maybe Dumoulin, but I think Kapanen, that guy, Pens fans are done with that guy right now. I think we talk a lot about other guys in Arizona, but Nick Ritchie could be a trade chip before the deadline. Like the goals he's putting up, the role he could play. I feel like a team could sauce like, I don't know, a 3rd round pick, 2nd round pick, maybe even if he keeps scoring. Also, how would you feel? Because I saw a rumor the other day. How would you feel about Chychrun being a target for the Blues? If they continue to struggle and Chychrun comes back healthy, like the Blues could use a guy on that left side. Perunovic injured, Scandella injured. Like, what would you do on that?
I think the Blues, like a lot of their success winning the Stanley Cup was a lot heavier play, bigger bodies, and they've kind of steered away from that. So I think Chychrun would be a very welcome addition to their blue line and would help a lot. So I think that'd be a great deal for them if it makes sense, right?
Also, did you see it on Twitter? Which way was it? Was it the Ducks AGM at the Leaf game or the Leafs AGM at the Ducks? I think it was the Ducks AGM, right?
Yeah, I think it was the Ducks AGM at the Leaf game.
Yeah, something like that.
That's what it was.
I think it was our boy Alberga who threw out who is he scouting for and what are the Leafs trying to get? Are they trying to get Klingberg, Gibson, Comtois, or whatever? But it's funny because that's another conversation where Klingberg went into a situation with the Ducks. And you think even more so because Drysdale's injured. You'd think he'd get rack up the points. Klingberg struggled a bit at the start. So I wonder if the Ducks make that move sooner for a team that needs defensemen. So that's another name. But I think that's the conversation right now. Defensemen for a lot of teams, the Leafs, the Canucks, the Blues, the Kings, even though the Blues haven't been scoring either. But we'll see what happens. I think there's a lot of storylines out there right now of just certain teams in a mess. I think the Leafs fan base, we all freaked out. I think it's just kind of in our DNA, but it's to me, I'm more concerned about what's going to happen around May. But Vancouver, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Washington, some of these teams, man, it's really bad. So it's always interesting to see where we're at on the next pod with the takes.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, those Devils takes from a few weeks ago didn't age too well, but
brutal.
Yeah, go Devils. I mean,
Liddy Ruff's still there
now. Yeah. All righty.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube, go check out Spotify, Apple. If you're on Spotify, Apple, check out the YouTube channel. Hit up
5-star rating.
5-star rating. Hit us up on social media as well if you want some questions. We gotta remember to mix in the questions or the mailbag on the next one. But
and keep an eye on the Muzzy because I bet you next one it's going to be pretty thick.
The Muzzy.
I mean, maybe I'll drop
plug
in the description. I'll plug the Movember page.
Yeah.
And if y'all want to send a dono or whatever you can, that'd be great for men's health. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, guys, make sure I retweeted that link as well. So go show your support if you can. And overall, guys, we'll see you in about a week. Remembrance Day, so make sure you rep, if you're Canada, rep the poppy. And thank you guys so much. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next episode, stream, or video. Have a good one. Peace.